you don't mind
starting this Avoda Zara. I'm sorry?
You don't mind for the Shlema, my
Yeah.
wife's friend?
Yeah, could you say it?
Ilana Chaya Bas Serach.
Okay.
For Shlema. Thank you.
Trying to see if I could put a watermark on the thing so we can remember it for tomorrow.
But
Okay. Zak the Gemara. Zak the Mishnah. Lifnei dein shel oivdei kechavim shloish yamim, 3 days before the Yamim Tovim, the holidays. It's referring to the religious holidays of the non-Jews, the idol worshippers. Asa losses velocity. It's an usher to do masu matan, to do business with them, which means to buy or sell things from them. Lahashilon, lishal mehen, to lend them things, to borrow from them, and to lend to them. Lahalvoisam velilvois mehen, to lend to them and to borrow from them. Lepayron velifroya mehen, to pay them for previous debts, or to get them to pay for debts that they had. Rabbi Yehuda says it's not a problem to get them to pay up their debts, because that is a pain for them. So the reason for this Isser is that all these things are benefits. They're something that the person enjoys. If he buys something, he enjoys his purchase. If he sells something, he enjoys the money that he got. Or if he borrows or lends money, there's a hana for him that he now has someone owes him money, or that he was able to get a hold of money. But the last one is to someone who pays or is paid back for a previous debt. Yehuda says when an idol worshiper is paying back a previous debt, what hana is he going to have from that? And the problem with hana is that he's then going to go, Rashi says, when it's going to be his Yom Tov, he's going to say a tefillah, he's going to bring a carbon because of his hana that he just recently had. So therefore, we don't want to sort of help them in or be machshel them in being over their avodah zara because of their benefit that they had. So now Rabbi Yehuda says, why can't you have them pay back? Why can't you go and ask them to pay back their debt? No one is happy to have to pay back a debt. It's a meitzahu, it's a pain for him. Amaloi, they said back to him, even though at the time he's not happy about having to pay back his debt, but in the long run, he's going to look back a couple of days later when it's going to be the Yom Tov, he's going to look back and say, Baruch Hashem, I'm debt free. So that everyone, in the end, everyone is a Dave Ramsey fan. Zok the Gemara. Rav Shmuel, Chad Tani Ideyan with an Aleph, V'chad Tani Idehen with an Ayin. So if you learn it with an Aleph, it's a lashon of catastrophe, that something bad happened. So this is what we call, it's like a euphemism. We call it like some people call 1948 the Nabka. So this is, but for the Yidden, the Yom Tovim throughout history were always a Nabka for the Yidden. It was always a catastrophe for us. The ones who say Idehen with an ayin, that means it's it's a testimony. That it's a way of saying that it's an edus of what they're really about. Zok the Gemara. Mandatani idein loy mishtabash. The one who says idein with an aleph, a lashon of catastrophe, is not incorrect. Mandatani idein loy mishtabash with an ayin is also not incorrect. Mandatani idein, the aleph, the catastrophe taich is not wrong. Loy mishtabash d'chsiv ki karav yoim idam. The Torah says a very, very straightforward that the day of their destruction is coming. So you see, idam is a lashon of oncoming. Unwanted event. Mandatani ideim, And the ones who say with an ayin loy mishtabes, d'chsev yitnu ideim v'yitzdiku. Their witnesses will come and will testify about them. That means that they're going to. It's saying let their yitnu ideim. Ideim is a reference to the Avoda Zara or the Avoda Zara. Let them come and try to justify what they've done. This is talking about lasid lavai. So let the witnesses come and justify. They're not going to be able to justify what the non-Jews have done. Uman the Tani Idei, in my time, Tani Idei, and the one who said with an aleph of Katashi, why didn't he say the lashon of witnesses? Amalach Tavra Adif. It's better to say when we're saying that you shouldn't. We'd rather talk about the eventual downfall of the non-Jews. So we refer to their Yomim Tovim, their holidays, as catastrophes. Uman the Tani Idei, the ones who say because of the testimony. My time Tani Idei, why doesn't he refer to it that way? Amalach man kagaram lo tavra, who caused the catastrophe? That's because of at the end when it's going to come and they're going to have to testify about what they've done. That's going to cause it to come out bad. Therefore, it's better to reference the Edus when we talk about their holidays. We prove that Edus is a reference to the Avoda Zara and to their eventual downfall. Is it really talking about Avdei Kechavim? Habi Yisrael K'sim, that pasuk that we brought, Yitnu Ideim V'Yatzdiku, we learned that it's talking about the Yidden. The Amar Rishu ben Levi, Kol Mitzvah Yisrael Oisim Ba'olam Hazeh, Ba'yisu Me'idus Lehen La'olam Haba. Says all the mitzvahs that Yidden do in this world, they're going to come and testify for them. La'asid Lavai, Shnema Yitnu Ideim V'Yatzdiku. Their Edus will come and will acquit them. We'll find them innocent. Elu Yisrael. So that's talking about the Yidden. Elu Yisrael. Elu Yisrael. Yishmu v'yoimru emes. The end of the pasuk. They'll hear it and they'll say the truth. They'll have to admit the truth. Elu avdei kechavim, that la'asid lavai. The witnesses are going to come and say the truth about the avdei kechavim, that they did not do the mitzvahs. They're not worthy of enjoining in the benefits of Olam Haba. Elam Ravuna Braid of Yeshua, Mando Midei Mehacha. He learns it out from a different pasuk that Idein is a reference to Avdei Kechavim. Yoitzrei Pesel, Kulam Tayu. Those who create, the creators of Getchkes, all of them are empty. For Chamudeim Bal Yeilu, and that which they value will not help them. The Ideim Hema, the Ideim Hema. And they not only that do they not, their chamudeim, meaning their getchkes, will not help them. They themselves will come testify against the Avdei Kechavim. This is what we see, lashon of ideim hema, that there's going to be a testimony against the Avdei Kechavim, and that's why the Mishnah, the Mandam who said ideim was an ayin, learns it that way. Darash of Chanina bar Papa, ideim Rav Simlai. And we're going to have a long story that most of it I think will be familiar to you. Lasid Lavi, maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu Sefer Torah. The Meshach is going to take a Sefer Torah, Manicha B'Cheker, he'll hold it close. Lasid Lavi is going to say, whichever nations were observed the Torah should come and get their schar now. Immediately all the Avdei Kechavim, all the nations will come in a big mix, and they're all going to come clamoring for the Rebbeinu Shalom to pay attention to them. They all come together. That means they all come mixed together. Don't come to me all mixed together. Rather, you should come each nation separately. Together with their chachamim, as Rashi says. Should come as la'umim ve'ein la'ayim ela malchus, and la'ayim is a reference to malchus or to nations. It says by Yaakov and Esav that the nations, one nation will ascend over the other. I'm wondering if like they're all trying to come by Avuvia, they're trying not to claim, because they all know that what their nation did, every nation has a sorry past of oppressing the Yidden. So they're all trying to hide in the Avuvia by claiming that, we're not part of our nation, we don't take responsibility for what we did. That's why the Bershom is mocked, but no, you have to take credit for what, or credit in parentheses, for what you've done. What difference does it make if they come mixed together or not? The Bershom can be mechalik and see who everyone is, and give everyone, they'll have to take responsibility for what they've done. The Bershom wants to become in an orderly manner so that they won't get confused, they won't all be yelling and not be able to make their tinus. The lishmu. That they should be, that the Bershom that they can be able to hear what they're saying. They're gonna, when the Bershom will answer them, they'll have what to say. This is all like we saw in Sanhedrin, that you have to make things very fair for a litigant. Anyone who comes before a bezdin, we want things that they shouldn't be intimidated. So Bershom, this is their din Torah. So Bershom wants that they won't have any excuses afterwards, that they didn't have every benefit, that they could understand clearly what was being said. In any case, so then the din Torah started. Malchus Roim came first. My time, why did they come first? Mishum de Chashiva, because they're the most chashiv. We know the Chashiva. How do we know that Rome is the most chashiv? The Siv, Vatechol Kol Ara, they ate up every land, they consumed every land. V'tedoshna v'tedoik kina, they dosh is a lotion of thresh. They ground them. They going and they made them into small pieces. They beat up everyone. This is Rome, the guilty. Shetava yatsa b'chol ha'olam. Rashi says Shetiva means that their name, that they're heard, they're heard everywhere. Everyone always listens to them. The other Mafarshim say Tiva means that their coinage, that their currency is accepted everywhere. Ominallah and the man the chashav ayal bereisha. How do we know? Just because the chashav, why should they go first? When you have a melech and a tzibur coming in for din, the melech comes first. Nichnas tchilu ledin. Shenema lasis mishpat avdei and mishpat ama Yisrael. The Rebbe Shalom says, he's talking about Shloim HaMelech. He says first his Eved, which is Shloim HaMelech, will come in, and then the rest of the Am Yisrael will come for their din. The time of Mai. What's the reason? Why is it taka that a melech comes first? Either it could be simply it's not proper for a melech to come last. The other reason might be because once there's a whole bunch of other people, once a judge has dealt with a bunch of people who did the wrong thing, by the time they get to the last one, they're already short, they're already angry, and we don't want the melech to have to deal with that anger. In any case, this is all to explain why Roimi came first. Now we're getting back to what was the Masu Matan with Rome. He asked Rome, what have you kept yourself busy with? We built many marketplaces, we built many bathhouses, we've accumulated a lot of assets, kesef and zav, and all of it was only in order that the Yidden would have the opportunity to learn. They already knew which side their bread was buttered, Rome, at the time when they're sitting in front of Bar Shalom, so they try to claim that everything they did was for the benefit of the Yidden. You fools, you all did it for yourself. You did it in order to, you made marketplaces to have access to Zionis, you made the bathhouses to enjoy yourself, to luxuriate. And the Kesef Zav that you say you accumulated for Yidden, That's our mine. Shenem aliyah kesav aliyah zov no Hashem tzvakos. So it's all mine. So you certainly don't get credit for that. So then the Rosh Hashanah asked them, Klum yesh bechem magid zois. Do you have anyone who related zois, which is the Torah? Shenema mi bechem yagid zois. Is there anyone amongst you who has said over the Torah? Vein zois el Torah. Shenema v'zois ha-Torah. Sham Moshe biyad. Sham Moshe. This is the Torah that Moshe placed. Biyad yatzu b'pachei nefesh. Immediately, when this came up, when they asked, did you learn Torah? They all left in disgrace. The Romans left in disgrace. Yatsa malchus roim v'nichlas malchus pras. The Romans left and the Persians came in. Achareh, my timer, the hachashiva basra, because the Persians are the next most chashav after the Romans. Uminolan, where do we see that? Tachsiv va'aru chiyua acharei tanina. Came afterwards a animal. That's the second one. The damya l'doy, similar to a bear. And Persia is compared to a beer. The Tanur of Yosef, Elu Parsiyim, Sha'ichem v'Shoisim Kedoiv, that they eat and drink like ravenously, like a beer. Or Mesurbal and Basar Kedoiv, they're covered with, they're thickly fleshed like a beer. Or Megadlin Se'er Kedoiv, they're full of hair. Ve'en lehem menucha Kedoiv, and they're constantly moving like a beer. Amlem HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'mayasak. The Rosh had the exact same conversation with them. Aimon l'fanu Rebbeinu. Haber gesharim, we built many bridges. Haber krochem kavashnu, we conquered many villages. Haber milchames asinu, we made many milchames, many wars. It was all for the benefit of the Yidden. The bridges were to allow them to get to the Bata Midrashim, and the krochem that we conquered was to stop the savages, to civilize them, to make places that Yidden could learn, and also the Muhammad's were to conquer areas that Yidden could have more places to learn. It's not true, you all did it for your own reasons. You built bridges in order to make tolls on them, and you conquered the towns in order to you built up towns in order to be able to draft from them people for your armies. Al Muhammad Aniyas, he says. So as Muhammad, I am the one who does all the Muhammad. Shenem Hashem ish Muhammad. I'm the Rebbe was in charge of all Muhammads, as we see the last week or two. Klum yesh b'chem magid zois. Then he asked them, does anyone by you learn Torah? Shenem b'chem yagid zois ve'en zois el Torah. Shenem zois Torah shamoy shemiyah ashasham boisha. This is the Torah. So zois is a lashon of Torah, and it says mi b'chem yagid zois. Miyad yatzum l'fanav b'chav b'fachi nefesh. They also left with in disgrace. Once Malchus Pras saw that Melech Roim already made the similar tinus that what they did was for the benefit of the Yidden, the Rebbeinu Shalom rejected it. Why did they try the same thing? My time, my islet. Why did they try making the same arguments? The Amr Inu Sasri Beis Mikdashav Anan Binyana. The Persian said that while it's true the Romans destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, but what was his name? Daryavish built the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore they thought they were going to have a better time with it, but in the end it didn't help them.
The Goyim are not mitzvah to learn Torah. I mean, so what's the tie against them?
The Gemara is going to go in great detail about what their responsibility is with the Torah. What they claimed, what was their claim, and what was the taina against them. We're gonna continue. We'll get to it soon.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. They had the same discussion with every nation. Once they saw that Rome and Persia were matzliach, why did the other ones try their luck? They said, listen, the Persians and Romans, they conquered the Yidden and they put them in slavery. But we, Papua New Guinea, we never had any interaction with them. Gemara, the Gemara asks, why did we count? Why did we say specifically the first two, Rome and Persia, and we didn't say whatever the next one was? Because Rome and Persia are still going to be around when Lasid Lavai, which is, now that we're in the Ikvas of the Mashiach, we could see, we see that Persia is maybe going to be restored to being called Persia instead of, I don't know, it'll probably still be Iran, but it's going to be a Persian country instead of a theocracy. And Rome is certainly still there. Italy and Rome are still extant. So that's why they say La'asad Lavai, they're going to come. But the other ones, whoever's there at the time that this pasuk was written, are not going to be there in the future. They asked the question that Rafal asked. The Goyim asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, what are you saying to us? We weren't makabel the Torah. You never gave it to us that if you would have, you didn't give it to us that we didn't accept it. In fact, tomorrow, Rebbeinu Shalom says the Torah comes from Sinai and it lit onto the Seir. Uksiv Eleka Mitaimon Yahweh, and the Rebbeinu comes from Taimon. And the pasuk, the whole pasuk is Elekami Taimon Yahweh v'Kadosh mehar Paran, and it comes from Haparan. My boy b'Sara, my boy b'Paran. What is the Rebbeinu talking about? Soyer, which is Esau, and what are they talking about? Paran, which is Yishmael. Rav Yochanan Melamed Shechzira Hakadosh Baruch Hu Al Kol Umma B'Loshen V'Lo Kiblua. The Rebbeinu went to every nation and offered them the Torah, and they didn't accept it. Asher Ba'etz Yisrael v'Kiblua. So that's why the other nations are being punished, because they didn't accept the Torah. So what kind of question is this for the Goyim to say that that is there anything that were we not makabel the Torah? We see from this drasha that they were not makabel the Torah. So how could they make such a claim that they never had an opportunity to makabel it? So the Gemara said that's not what the tainas of the Goyim were. Elahachi amri, klum kiblanua v'loy kamnua. Did we accept the Torah and not be mekayim it? We never accepted it, so we don't have a chiyuv to be mekayim it. So the Gemara valda tavrason, amay loy kabal tua. The Gemara says that's not much of a taina for the Goyim, because you're saying you were not makabel it, so we don't have to be mekayim it. So why weren't you makabel it? The taina is that the Yidden were forced to accept the Torah. When the Yidden came to Har Sinai, the Rebbeinu Shalom made the Har, he made it suspended on top of the Yidden. He said, if you're not going to accept it, I'm going to smash it down on you. So the Yidden were forced to accept the Torah. So the Goyim said, why are we any worse? We were not. They only accepted out of force. He said to them, if you are makabel the Torah mutav, it's good. Sham take for us, and you're going to be buried here underneath the heart. So Yidden were forced to take it. So the Goyim was saying, why don't you force us as well? Hashem said to them, it's not such a bad taina, but I'll prove it to you from the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, the original mitzvahs that you were given at the Bereshis, Mishes Bereshis. Sheva Mitzvahs Shekibaltem Heichen Kiyamtem. Have you been makabel the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach? So tomorrow, Minalan Delay Kimum. How do we know that the Goyim were not makayim the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach? Tanur Yosef Amad B'Yemoided Aretz. The Rebbeinu Shalom stands and he measures the land. Ra Viter Goyim. He sees it and he gives it out. He spreads it out to the Goyim, which is really a lashon of talking about giving out distributing the lands to the Bnei Canaan, that he gave it out to them. But we dash in my Ra Zayin Mitzvah Shekiblu Aleim Bnei Noach V'Lei Kimo. Amad V'Yemoided Aretz. Ra, he saw that the Goyim were not makayim the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Kivalei Kimo Mama V'Hetiron Lohen. And since they weren't makayim it, the Rebbeinu was matter to them. It says Vayiter Goyim is a lashon of heter. The Rebbeinu was matter to them the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. In fact, the Gemara is Guyi Isker Does that make sense? The Bershom was matter to them because they were Mekayim and they were no longer obligated. Because they don't follow it, then they get off in the future. They're not going to be over. The Chayot should be the other way. They should be punished. They're getting off better since they were over. So now they're no longer required to follow them. So since they were not Mekayim it, they lost the Rebbe Shalom made it not incumbent on them. They shouldn't get the schar for being Mekayim it. How do we know that even a Ka'avid Kechavim, that's Isaac and Torah, he's as mechubed as the Kohen Gadol, Tamalay Masha Yasa Isa Ma'adam B'chai Bohem. Ha'adam, we say, Ha'adam, Kehanim Levim Yisrael Le'nem. We don't say when a Yasa, a Yid, Yisrael, which we represent by saying Kehanim Levim Yisraelim. Elo Ha'adam, Halamad Shafilu Avi Kechavim Isaac B'Torah, Hareyu Kohen Gadol. He gets the benefits. It's coming to tell you that they can get schar, but they don't get the schar of mitzvah v'oisa since they've violated the precepts of the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. They've lost the mila of being a mitzvah v'oisa. If you remember, this is Rabbi Yosef made. There was like he made a celebration. He was blind. Whoever will tell me that a blind person is mitzvah mitzvahs, I'm going to make a celebration because now I'm a mitzvah v'oisa. El Kamishaina Mitzvah Yosef. Amar Chanina Gadol Mitzvah Yosef. Yosef Mishaina Mitzvah Yosef. Sagt er mal, Kach einmal die Gechamim Lekash Baruch Hu. Menscham Yisrael shekiblua heichen kimua. He asked the Yidden who accepted it, where were they mekayim it? Amar Lekash Baruch Hu ani mei behem shekayim es Torah. Kula. I'm going to be made. I'm lefanav Rebbe Shalom klum yesh av shemeid al benoi. The Goyim said to Rebbe Shalom, how could you be made? You're their father. You're a little bit biased. You call them your bechar. The Shemayim and the Aretz will testify that they will mekayim the whole Torah. They're negei be'edus. If not for Brisi Yoimam V'Layla, which we had this recently, Begisa B'Yoimam V'Layla, that's a reference to the Torah. If not for the Torah, there would be no basis for the Shemayim and Eretz, for the whole existence, for the whole Bria. Amarish Lakish, Ma'idach Siva Yerva Yiboike Yom HaShishim, Lama Shehisna Gashbocha Ma'isa Bereshit. Moshe made a Tnai in Ma'isa Bereshit. V'Amar Im Yisrael Mekabel SaTorah Muta V'Imlav Eini Achzer Eschem L'Toyu V'Vayu. If not, I'm going to turn the world to nothingness. So the Shemayim Haaretz is not a good edus because they need the Yidden to be mekayim the Torah in order for them to continue to exist. Another raya for this: Ma'idach Siv Mishamayim Mishmata Din Eretz Yira B'Shakta. From Shemayim came the Din, which is the Torah, and the earth saw and was scared and was quiet. Im Yarolam Mashakta, if they were scared, why was it quiet? Im Shakta Lama Yara, and if it was quiet, why was it scared? El B'Tchir Yara, in the beginning was afraid that the Yidden would not be Mekayim the Torah, and therefore there'd be no need for the Bria. L'B'Sayv Shakta. In the end, when the Rabban Shalom, when they saw that the Yidden were Mekayim the Torah, were Mekabel the Torah, they were quiet. I'm sorry?
No, nothing.
They said to the different nations, you should come and testify. Nimrod will come and testify about Avram, that he went into the Kivshin Eish. He wasn't Lavan will say about Yaakov that he didn't steal from the deal that they had. That Yosef was not nichshal in Gilead Arayis. That they didn't bow down to Abigail, and again they also got thrown in the Kivshin Eitz. That Daniel was not mevatel tefillah in spite of the fact, in spite of the takanos that they made against tefillah. Daniel went and was mispal, and that's why he got thrown into the lion's den. Yavai builded Hashechi b'tzefer hanami v'alifas hatimani. the Goyish Nevi'im, Eliyobem Brachal Habuzi, Yidem Yisrael Shekayim is Kol HaTorah Kula, that they were Mekayim the Kol HaTorah Kula, Shenema Yidnu Yidem V'Yatzdiku. The witnesses will come, and the Matzdik now with Dashing that's talking about the Nevi'im and coming to say about the Bnei Yisrael. They said to the Rebbe Shem, let us go now and give us the Torah now. Will be a kaimet. When it comes to Las Adava, when you're standing upstairs, it's too late then to say, I'm going to now be Mekayim the mitzvah. So you got to do it when you're in the Nisayim. Okay. Ella afal pikei mitzvah kali yeshli v'sukkah shmai. I have one small mitzvah of sukkah. L'chu v'asu oisa. Go and do the mitzvah sukkah. Zakma mimatzis amar hachi. Can the Baisham give a mitzvah la'asid lave v'amar Yeshua ben Levi ma'idach seba shanoichi b'tzavcha hayoyim hayom la'asoisam v'loy l'mochel la'asoisam. You have to do it today. You can't do it la'asid lave hayom la'asoisam v'loyim litol schar. You do it hayom. You do it now, but now is not the time for schar. Later. La'asid lava is a time for schar. Now is the time to do the mitzvahs. The two can't mix. Ela she'enegesh baruch hu betrunya imbrius. The Rebbe Shalom is not tough with his creations, so he gave them an opportunity. He was nice to them and let them do a mitzvah. My karle a mitzvah kala. It's not expensive to go sit out in the sukkah. Immediately all the goyim built a sukkah on top of their roof because baruch hu makdir aleim chama b'toikva. Thomas, Betkuvas Thomas, he made a hot sun on them. Each one kicked down his sukkah. He said, I'm sick of this. I'm supposed to do a mitzvah, and the Baruch makes it hard on it. Let's knock off our reins, our ropes, the things that are tying us down, and throw them away. Makdir, why the Baruch make it hot on them? The Bereshit not trying to make it hard. So Yisrael Nami Zimnin the Mashchel Hutkuvas Tamas Ad Chagas. Sometimes it's hot for Yidden also, so they made it. You want to make it even. For Havalut Saira. But when it's hot, the Yidden Taka don't have to sit in the sukkah. So when you need a pot about me babati. It's true that the Yidden leave the sukkah because it's hot, but they don't knock it down. The Goyim said, we're not interested in this mitzvah. Immediately, the Baruch was Masachik. The Baruch sat and was Masachik. He was happy that the Goyim were excluded from Las Yitzchak. That's the only time the Baruch was happy. Was Masachik. It's not such an appropriate lashon, but when the Goyim got their just due, that he said that only the Yidden are Zayka Lasad Lavi and not the Goyim, he was Masachik. Okay, we're going to stop over here. I think we covered a lot. If the Olam has a preference, we could leave off one day if you want. We could